In recent years, tensions between the Trump administration and major academic institutions have reached new heights, and Northwestern University found itself at the center of a high-stakes standoff. The dispute, which captured national attention, revolved around federal oversight, research funding, and the university's compliance with government mandates. After months of negotiations, legal wrangling, and public scrutiny, Northwestern and the Trump administration have finally reached a sweeping settlement that brings an end to a period of uncertainty for the university community. On November 28, 2025, both parties announced an agreement that will restore nearly $800 million in previously frozen federal research funding to Northwestern. This funding is vital, supporting groundbreaking research in science, medicine, and technology, and ensuring that students and faculty can continue their work without interruption. As part of the settlement, Northwestern has agreed to pay $75 million to the U.S. Treasury over the next 3 years. Importantly, the university has not admitted to any wrongdoing, but the financial penalty is a significant concession in order to resolve the dispute and move forward. The deal brings an end to all ongoing federal investigations into the university's practices. However, the resolution comes at a steep price, both financially and in terms of Northwestern's reputation, as the controversy has left a lasting mark on the institution's public image. This case serves as a powerful reminder of the federal government's ability to enforce its priorities on higher education institutions. Issues like campus climate, compliance with federal regulations, and the use of federal funds are now under even greater scrutiny, with universities across the country taking note. The outcome of this settlement sends a clear message. Federal funding is not just a resource, but also a tool for political leverage. Universities that rely on government support must be prepared to navigate complex legal and political landscapes. As the landscape for academic freedom and federal oversight continues to shift, university leaders nationwide are watching closely, aware that the balance between autonomy and accountability is more delicate than ever before. In April 2025, the Trump administration froze $790 million in federal research funds for Northwestern, sending shockwaves through academia.
The freeze was a calculated move, not a sudden impulse, meant to force Northwestern to address a list of political grievances. The halt threatened hundreds of research projects and the university's ability to attract top talent. With the new settlement, funds will be restored within weeks, but the 8-month freeze exposed just how vulnerable universities are to federal intervention. The episode leaves a lasting mark, reminding higher education of the immense power federal agencies wield.
Central to the federal case was the charge that Northwestern failed to address anti-Semitism amid campus protests over the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Critics argued that pro-Palestinian demonstrations crossed into harassment and that the university's response was too lenient. In response, Northwestern launched new training, reporting systems, and support for Jewish students, aiming to show compliance with federal civil rights law. The case became a test of the administration's expanded authority to investigate and penalize universities over campus climate issues.
The Trump administration's scrutiny of Northwestern extended beyond anti-Semitism to admissions and athletics.
Federal investigators probed race-based admissions and transgender participation in women's sports, pushing for strict compliance with new legal standards. The administration used the funding freeze to pressure universities to align with its conservative agenda on campus speech, diversity, and Title IX. The final settlement imposed few new restrictions, but Northwestern reaffirmed its commitment to women's sports and single-sex facilities. The episode signals a broader campaign to reshape higher education through financial leverage.
The settlement between Northwestern and federal authorities is both sweeping and unprecedented. Under its terms, Northwestern is required to pay a staggering $75 million over the next 3 years. This payment is not just a penalty, it's earmarked for restoring research funds that had been frozen during the investigation, ensuring that critical scientific work can resume. In addition, the settlement brings an end to ongoing federal investigations that have cast a shadow over the university's reputation and operations. As part of the agreement, Northwestern must establish a new committee within its board of trustees. This committee will be tasked with overseeing the university's compliance with the settlement's terms, ensuring that every requirement is met, and that the university remains transparent in its actions. The university is also obligated to certify its adherence to the agreement on a quarterly basis, submitting detailed reports that document progress and address any concerns raised by federal monitors. This arrangement introduces a new era of ongoing federal oversight, with government officials maintaining a close watch on university operations and finances. It also establishes formal accountability at the highest levels of university governance, making top administrators directly responsible for compliance. While the resignation of President Michael Schill was not explicitly demanded in the settlement, his departure signaled a significant leadership change and helped clear the way for a resolution. This leadership transition, though unofficial, was a crucial step in rebuilding trust and moving forward. The deal transforms what could have been a one-time dispute into a lasting relationship of oversight and cooperation between Northwestern and federal authorities. Northwestern now faces sustained pressure to comply, with the knowledge that any misstep could trigger renewed scrutiny or even harsher penalties. The structure of this settlement is already being viewed as a model for how the federal government can enforce its vision for higher education, setting new standards for transparency and accountability. Northwestern's willingness to pay such a large sum and accept ongoing oversight underscores just how high the stakes are when universities and the federal government clash. The agreement brings closure to a turbulent and uncertain chapter in the university's history, allowing the campus community to begin healing and rebuilding. Yet, it also sets a powerful precedent for future interventions, signaling that federal authorities are prepared to take bold action to ensure compliance and integrity in higher education.
Throughout the dispute, Northwestern insisted its policies complied with federal law and protected academic freedom.
President Buchanan emphasized that the settlement doesn't compromise core principles. Faculty hiring, admissions, and curriculum remain under university control.
Northwestern was already following merit-based admissions in Title IX, and the settlement reaffirms protections for both women's sports and transgender students. The university's leaders framed the agreement as a pragmatic move to protect research and autonomy, not a concession of failure. By accepting oversight and a financial penalty, Northwestern secured the restoration of critical funding and ended a period of uncertainty. The outcome preserves the university's mission while navigating a challenging political climate.
After the settlement, both sides claimed victory, each framing the outcome to reassure their supporters.
The Trump administration called it a win for accountability and student protection. Northwestern stressed it retained academic freedom and control. The Department of Justice closed investigations and restored Northwestern's eligibility for future grants. President Buchanan reassured the university community that core values were preserved. The agreement ends a damaging period of uncertainty, letting Northwestern return to its research mission. The language from both parties highlights the dual nature of the deal: policy victory for the administration, financial security for the university.
Northwestern's ordeal is part of a broader campaign by the Trump administration to reshape higher education through funding leverage.
The administration offered patriotic compacts to universities, promising grant advantages for compliance with conservative policies. Northwestern refused. Cornell faced a similar freeze, paying $30 million to restore funds and invest in administration-prioritized research. This model, funding freezes, settlements, and oversight, has become a template for compelling compliance. The pressure campaign has created anxiety across academia, with leaders wary of attracting federal scrutiny. The federal government's hands-on approach signals a new era of intervention in university affairs.
The Northwestern settlement closes one chapter in the ongoing story of American higher education, but it also marks the beginning of something entirely new. What once seemed like a distant possibility, direct federal intervention in university affairs, has now become a reality, and the implications are profound. As students cross campus and celebrate their achievements, they do so in an environment that is rapidly changing. The landscape of higher education is being reshaped by political forces, and the Northwestern case is a clear signal that universities must adapt to survive. The agreement, restoring funds in exchange for payment and oversight, sets a precedent for federal intervention on campus. It's not just about money, it's about who holds the power to shape academic priorities and values. This new model of oversight could influence everything from research funding to campus policies. The ordeal exposed the vulnerability of even elite universities to political pressure and funding threats. No institution, no matter how prestigious, is immune to the shifting tides of government policy or public scrutiny. The media spotlight and public protests have shown just how quickly reputations can be challenged. For other institutions, it's both a warning and a lesson. University leaders everywhere are now watching closely, realizing that their own policies and decisions could soon come under similar scrutiny. The Northwestern settlement offers a playbook for navigating federal demands, but it also raises difficult questions. How much autonomy are universities willing to sacrifice to maintain funding? What compromises will be made in the name of compliance? The settlement model may become the new normal, with universities across the country forced to weigh the cost of compliance versus the risks of defiance. This balancing act will define the next era of academic governance. University administrators and academic leaders now face tough choices, debating how best to protect their institution's missions while responding to external pressures. The stakes have never been higher, and the path forward is uncertain. Institutional autonomy is now challenged by a more interventionist federal approach. The presence of federal agents and policymakers on campus is a stark reminder that the boundaries between academia and government are being redrawn. The Northwestern case signals that academia is no longer insulated from national political battles. Universities are now at the center of debates over free speech, funding, and the role of higher education in society. As the sun rises on a new era, the future of American higher education is being rewritten. The Northwestern precedent sets a new course, one that will shape the destiny of universities for years to come.